All right, the last 5 of insanity. So it can be helpful to try these out on your own and then play the video and see how I do it, and then look at your work, pause it, compare, and in that way, if you made a mistake, you can try to find it as I go through it to see what you did that was different. If you can't figure it out, bring it into class and ask me. Sometimes it's hard to see your own mistake, that somebody else walks up and they're like, "You're doing this wrong." Thanks. But no, it actually is helpful, as long as they're not rude about it. All right. So 16 here. 7x's minus 4x's is the same as 8 minus 17. Well, I have my x's together on one side, so we just need to combine those like terms. So 7x's minus 4x's leaves us with 3x's. Now over here, 8 minus 17, positive 8 will cancel out 8 of the negatives, and that leaves us with 9 negatives, so negative 9. So 3x's is really 3 times x, and to cancel out triple threes, we're going to divide it into thirds, into 3 equal groups. So negative 9 split 3 ways is negative 3 in each group. So our unknown has the value of negative 3. That is the value that if I put it back in there, it would make the equation true. All right, kicking it up a notch. We got A's this time. All right, so 10 onto A minus 5 minus 9A plus 46 equals 8. First things first, like you see parentheses, get rid of them. Like just gut reaction, parentheses, no, you go bye-bye. It's 10 times A minus 10 times 5. So 10 A's minus 10 times 5 is 50. And then I just recopy everything else. I know this can be tedious, but recopying everything else ensures you don't misplace a term. If you try to just like change something here and then you didn't write the rest and now you're like, okay, now I'll do this thing, then it's hard to tell, like, was this still on the line? Did I already get rid of that once? All right, so 10 A's minus 50 number minus 9A, there's some like terms, and then plus 46, hey, then those other guys are also like terms. So I'm not moving anything to the other side. I'm just cleaning up the left side by combining like terms. So 10 A's and 10 A's minus 9 A's is 1A. Minus 50 plus 46 nearly cancels each other out, but there's going to be 4 negatives hanging on. And we still have that 8 on the other side. Now, 1 times A is just A. And I want to undo subtracting 4, so I will add 4. And 8 plus 4 gives us 12. All right, so our A value is 12. 12 is what would make that crazy equation true. All right, so thus far, variables have all stayed on the same side. And then we get here, not staying on the same side. Now we have variables on both sides. So still, check parentheses, nope, good there. Like terms on the left side, nope. On the right side, nope. All right. Now I want my variables together. Here, when we get variables on two sides, opposite sides of the equal sign, I am going to add or subtract one of them to move it to the other side. I generally take whatever the smaller term is, and that's the one I'm going to focus on moving. Some people just always take the term on the right and move it so that way the variable stays on the left. Whatever floats your boat. So here, I'm not even going to focus on the constant parts, just the variables. I've got 9 n's on the left, 3 n's on the right. 3 n's is smaller. So those are positive 3 n's, so I'm going to subtract 3 n's, 3 unknowns, and I must preserve the balance by doing the same thing to the other pan, the other side. So I take my 3 unknowns off of one side, and when I take 3 unknowns away from the 9 unknowns, I have 6 of them left. It is still positive, and we still have the 5 plus on there, and now the only thing on the right side is the 23. All right, so 5 plus 6n, that does not magically become 11n. These are 5 little number cubes and 6 unknown bags of cubes. So I can't combine that and suddenly have 11 bags of cubes or 11 number cubes. I don't know what's in the bags. So I just want to get it so that I have one bag on one side, and then the number in the pan on the other side tells me what I got. So I'm going to get rid of these ones. I'm going to subtract 5 of them, take 5 of them off of both sides. So 6n now, 23 minus 5 is 18. So 6 unknowns is the same as 18 number blocks. Now to get rid of the 6, that is 6 times n. So we are going to choose to divide both sides by 6. And n is the same as 18 split 6 ways is 3 in each group. All right. So I can add or subtract unknowns, variable terms, to both sides, and that's totally fine. Technically, there's like advanced equations where you can even multiply or divide by the variables, but that makes an equation more complicated than we want to make it. There are times where it's called for, but let's hold off. All right, second to last one, parentheses on the left. 4 times x and 4 times 5. So 4x's plus 4 times 5 is 20. And then I'm just going to recopy. All right, now there's no like terms on the left, no like terms on the right. So I need to get my variables all on one side of the equation. So -2 is smaller than 4. So that is what I want to cancel out. So I am minusing 2 x's here. So the opposite of minusing 2 of these unknowns, we are going to add 2 unknowns. And then what I like to do is just line it up with the like term that it's going to combine with. And that's why we spend that step checking for like terms. So 4x's plus 2x's is 6x's over here. And then on the right here, when we still have that plus 20, and then on the right, the x's cancel, and we just have 2. All right, now there's a single x term. Now I can just do my 2 steps, the add or subtract, and then the divide. So we are going to subtract 20 from both sides. And 2 minus 20 still stays -18. And now we're going to divide both sides by 6. So -18 split into 6 groups is -3. All right, one more. All righty. So here it is, the whole enchilada. This is going to do everything. See, we got parentheses to start with. We're going to have some like terms to combine. Then we're going to have to move variables. It's going to be all sorts of crazy. We can do it. So parentheses first. -2 times x It's negative 2x's. And then negative 2 times 6 is negative 12. So I can either write this as plus negative 12 or just minus 12. And then recopy the rest. All right. Now we go looking for our like terms. I have negative 2x minus 12 plus 5. So there's only the one x term, but the minus 12 and the plus 5 can be combined. So we'll go ahead and do that now to save us a step. So we'll keep the negative 2x for now. Negative 12 plus 5, we get a little bit of cancellation, and that leaves us with minus 7. And then negative 8x minus 1. All right. Now we could go either way from here. I could cancel out the negative 2x or cancel out the negative 8x. Negative 8 is a smaller number than negative 2. So if I choose to cancel the negative 8, I will end up with a positive x term on the other side. But you can too, the absolute value is a smaller number than the absolute value of negative 8. So some people will choose to move the 2x, whatever floats your boat. So to cancel out those negative 8x's, I'm going to add 8x's. And then I'll line that up there. So negative 2 things plus 8 things, a little bit of cancellation, and we are left with 6 things minus 7 equals, and that all we had left on the right side was subtract 1. So that is the number negative 1 now. All right, I want to get rid of minus 7 by adding it to both sides. And negative 1 plus 7 is positive 6. Hey, that sounds familiar. 6x's is 6. What does 1x have to be? Yep, we can totally get 1 as a solution. All right, so there is your down and dirty review crash course in solving equations. As always, email me with any questions. If anything pops up on the homework and you're not sure how to solve it, like finding those, how much do I have to invest to have this amount later on? We end up doing some number crunching and then we do a division. So just keep that in mind.